Yo, what's up, man?
We're good to be here, man.
Welcome, everybody. This is Cathedral Creates.
Yeah.
And this week, we have the absolute pleasure and honor of our very own Pastor Rommel Corpuz,
Right.
who is our fitness trainer, but he's also our family life pastor. He does a ton of things here at the church. You probably see him doing maybe Cathedral Strong on the minute, all kinds of stuff.
On the minute.
But he's also an entrepreneur, and I'm really excited to kind of get into some of his story because I know that there's a lot that's in there that can inspire you today. And as you know, if you've been watching any or listening into any of the podcasts, we are created in the image of God. This is Cathedral Creates. So we're created in the image of a creator. And so we believe that God has called us to live a creative life. So whatever that is, you could be an accountant, but you're still asked and mandated by God to creatively manage that career and that focus.
Right.
So whatever it is, it's not just art, it's not just music, it's not just wearing flowers and floating in meadows of green.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about this.
Yeah.
How did you get into fitness? Where did that love start?
Well,
when did it start?
You know, fitness, the whole fitness journey as it exists now, it's an interesting story. But the catalyst, I love how you use the word catalyst, because it brings to mind these kinds of little moments in my life where I was always sort of never good enough athletically, but there was this fundamental desire for me to wanting to be I just wanted to play a sport, play. And so I grew up in an Asian family, and my mom was super protective. So she'd never let me play sports and she'd always have some kind of excuse, right? And the biggest excuse was the book over my head. Do you know everything in this book? If you don't, then
Shout out to all Asian moms.
That's right. Make me the man that I am today.
That's right.
And so there was this notion of me as I went through this whole experience of having to try and achieve at sports, and wanting to be as good as someone. And then I experienced, and I'm not sure if anybody ever experienced this, somehow, some way your efforts are rewarded, whether you achieve something or something happens that sort of says, hey, you did it. For me, it was making the football team. So I made the football team.
Okay.
I earned a starting position.
High school?
High school.
Okay.
And then it sort of sparked this idea in my head from then on that, hey, look, you could work hard enough, smart enough, and you work harder than the next person. You may be better than me, but you're not going to work harder than me.
Come on.
So that started the whole quote unquote fitness journey.
Nice.
Particularly as it relates to what you see now, as our what we call training system. And you talked about what we do entrepreneurially.
Yeah.
We've not kind of built 20 years later a systematic approach to what that is, rather than just working harder, work smarter.
Got it. So fast forward, your business and your brand is called Perfromax.
Right. It's called Perfromax.
Now explain to the listeners kind of what makes it different from CrossFit.
Yeah,
or any of the other.
Yeah, the idea, and I love Cathedral Creates because that was sort of that first level, that first creative sort of endeavor, and then that was sort of what we call youth, and youth then leads itself into sort of that young adultness, sort of that academic pursuit through college, and that's when we started to sort of conceptualize this idea that there's a way to put numbers behind the efforts, and to not only put numbers behind the efforts, but to sort of put names behind each of those efforts. And you realize, hey, wait a minute, science already has done a lot of that, right? We've got all these names for it. But you realize there really isn't there's no something called continuity. They're really not connected enough for us to make sense of it. So we just kind of go in these circles. So Perfromax was born out of
Walking
this...
in the dark.
Yeah.
Is it the diet? Is it this? Is it
Right.
starvation?
Yeah.
Is it muscle confusion?
Right, only to end up where you started before. And it's this vicious cycle.
Kind of like my life in the last 10 years.
Well, yeah, if you've come to see me, you probably would only been 5. but the idea was that we could do that. We could quantify efforts and we could qualify these efforts. So that is what the system became. And so it's just been this methodology around heart rate metrics, around like the volume of work that you're doing, the duration of work that you do. And then and over the years, we've created all these metrics, these biometrics. And so they've all these different versions of it, and we just feel like we don't necessarily have the best version of it. We never want to put ourselves above anyone, but what we do know is that I believe we have the greatest opportunity to create an experience that's fundamentally yours.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I loved about my time with you, is how it's not just following just like the workouts per se. It's like you literally, I watch you, like, because we work out in groups, and you'll literally talk to me differently than you will Kurt or someone else, because you know where they're at in life. You're handcrafting a program for each individual as well. So it's not just a one size fits all.
Right.
It's very catered and tailored.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, and this is not any sort of, the statement is meant to just spark thought, right, in the direction of growth. But we talk about like personalized training. But is it really? I think a lot of times the definition of personalized training is because I'm here with you. We're one-on-one, so then it's personalized. Yeah. But I think personalized is about, understanding what an individual response to training is, right? In its pure form. Right. And so, its purest form has to be some sort of means or measure for us. Yeah. Again, it's the heart rate, and again, we quantify efforts in terms of time of reps. I mean, it's been fun, and so that's sort of been a real cool way God's continued to inspire me daily to just keep doing what I do. Yeah.
So Perfromax, it's your unique brand. It's your career. How, I know along the way, every creative endeavor hits obstacles, hits resistance. What are some things that God's taught you, or God's equipped you with, or you've learned to arm yourself with, to bust through these forms of resistance and to keep going with your dream?
This constant theme of sort of God putting me sort of in positions, looking behind people and feeling like there's got to be a better way for me to do this, to experience this. That next level, as we built this system into its own form, and we were able to get our own training space, I was given an opportunity to join a Athletes in Action group, and we went internationally into Poland, and what I was thrust into this experience of like mighty men of God, man, because guys like you. Meanwhile, I'm sort of thrust in this secular mindset of like this whole fitness thing is just this, it's all about science. It's again, you can do all this work, and I realized with all these folks that there's a whole nother level of my spirituality that I did not ever give value or equal weight to. So that was a huge sort of breaking point for me, a breakthrough point for me, if you will. Because at that time I was stuck. I was getting burnt out. I was uninspired. Felt like is this all it was? And in that moment, God breaks in through these folks in my lives, and the one thing that sort of thrust us then in the next level was putting God at the level playing field of sort of me playing God and saying I can build the best programs, I can work everything, and sort of putting those two together created where we are now, the pathways to where we are now with Cathedral of Faith and how we operate, as family life pastors.
There's some gold there. Like, talk about a little bit about how fitness and everything is not just a biological exercise, right? It's a spiritual activity as well. So talk about maybe more of that discovery and how people can understand health in that understanding. We are one, body, mind, and soul.
That's a key precept. I feel like God's given me this unique perspective, and He sort of imparts that concept of mind, body, and spirit. And really, we talk about it in theory as this thing that we are as one. But again, that fundamental question to inspire thought: like, do we really? Do we really understand all three parts? And do we treat all three parts equally, so that it can be that expression? And with God and how He has created and formed us, one of the key passages is that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you realize that God's created this, and He's put everything in this creation to achieve any and all things that we're trying to do with supplements, with medicine, right? Again, no disrespect. I'm just saying that that's everything that's in us to heal us, to improve, and to live a vital life already exists in us. And all we need to do is really learn how to tap into the source, right, of those things.
That's good.
Mind, body, and spirit. And we find that God's in it. He's of it. The word says in Ephesians 4 that he's in and through all things.
That's real good.
And if we can keep tapping into that, that sort of, again, that energy that's in us, that spirit that's in us, there's magic there.
Yeah.
Right? There's magic there.
That's good, man.
And that's
I love it.
That's what we get to live every day.
I love it. I love it. Now here at Cathedral Creates, it's about highlighting God's story in you so that they could see God's story in them.
Yeah.
And so like we usually kind of wrap up the time with this phrase, put it on the canvas.
Yeah.
That's why we have this blank canvas behind us, that life, you have the opportunity and really the mandate, the calling to paint the picture, to create the life you love.
Yeah.
So, but you're not just anybody. So I can't just do one with you. I got to do two. So I'm going to do two, put it on the canvas. The first, put it on the canvas, is in terms of like, what we mean is just how can they get started? How can they start inertia? How can they get moving maybe from an immobile state? So physically speaking, coming out of quarantine, coming out of COVID, coming out of shelter in place, how can people, what's something they can do actively this week, tomorrow, today, to kind of put it on the canvas?
I think the simplest unit, right? The simplest, minimal effective, quote unquote, dose, we say, exists for two types of people. There are people that aren't doing enough, and there are people that are doing too much. And I think for the simplest motion, for the people that aren't doing enough, I think people just need to understand there's value in even just the smallest effort.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes can make a huge difference. Again, I say it time and time again, and I've said it initially as a novel thing, but when we've tested it, it's fundamentally true, and science continues to tell us. So if we just get up and do something continuously for 10 minutes a day, just up and move. For those of us that haven't been doing that, are doing a lot of sitting, kind of listening, this is great content and great stuff to consume, but we gotta get moving. We gotta realize that movement is key, and if we just do it daily, can make massive difference.
Absolutely.
And in the opposite direction, for folks that are doing a little too much, right? People that are working 2 jobs and not getting a whole lot of sleep. I mean, exercise may not be the best. If we can just take 10 minutes to figure out how to quiet things down, slow things, just 10 meditative moments where it's just pure, we just stop.
Yeah. What's that phrase you say? Exercise is always good for you, but
but we're not always good
to exercise.
Yeah, exercise is always good for you, but you're not always good to exercise. Where are you on that spectrum?
That's great.
And if we can do that one thing and sort of identify where we are and then make those 10-minute changes daily, I think you can make a huge difference.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wrapping it up, one more, put it on the canvas.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, as someone who's had to literally create your own lane, you created your brand, you created your career, right? That's how you've created a living for your family.
Yeah.
For those out there that think they have a dream inside them, what is something that you've had to kind of work through or that's helped you along the way to help you put it on the canvas to make the life that you love?
The statement goes like this, that, someone always asks me, hey, Pastor Mike, do you love what you do, right? Create the life that you love. And it made me pause, and I said, I think I do, but it's kind of more than that. And I needed to put a word to it. And so the statement for me says, I don't love what I do, I live what I do. That it becomes something that it's just a part of me, it's just what I do. And when I approach it from that perspective, all the things that define me and my life start to catapult me into these new experiences, right? As from an entrepreneur perspective, these next levels of VR. And that's not just a success thing, a money thing, right? It's a fulfillment thing. What fulfills me?
Right.
To go from where we were from Perfromax and then to partner with Cathedral of Faith, a whole nother level. I get fulfilled physically, spiritually. I get to pour into other people.
Yeah.
And as we started to grow organizationally as Perfromax and Cathedral of Faith, it catapults us to the family life, center, and into now what we have as family life pastors.
Yeah.
So again, when all of those things come together, we focus on what our life is, and we start to piece those things together. I mean, naturally, what you experience is the fulfillment. And I really believe when we talk about, create the life that you love.
Yeah.
It's the things that pour into you.
That's good.
That you can pour back into people.
That's good.
That's love, isn't it?
That's good. That's good. And I can be a testament to your life as seeing a few chapters here in about 10 years, watching Perfromax evolve, watching you as a pastor evolve from Santa Cruz into family life, and the word that comes to mind is fluid.
Yeah.
Like, because I noticed that about you.
Yeah.
Like, you're very fluid in terms of you're not rigid, and I think that's very important for in terms of creativity. In terms of being an entrepreneur, is being fluid and knowing where the tide's moving.
Yeah.
And then I believe that'll help us live that creative lifestyle.
No doubt.
So how can people follow Perfromax, get plugged into Perfromax?
So we're pouring our efforts and who we are into Cathedral of Faith, and it's coming out with Cathedral Strong. So that comes out on our social media platforms, typically on Mondays on Instagram, Facebook. We also have we're at liveperformax.com. You can follow us there as Perfromax, and we've also on Instagram at liveperformax.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And are you starting to take new clients yet?
No. We're still waiting. Your spot's still waiting.
You haven't got the paperwork? I sent it. I asked you to send that in for me, but. We'll figure that out.
We'll get there.
It's not really,
just check back. Just check back, on the website, and you get everything you need from there.
Cathedral of Faith. This is Cathedral Creates. I hope that you heard something. This man right here is a masterpiece.
Come on.
And so are you. And I hope that you heard something in his story that will catapult and be a catalyst to your story. Go after it. Go create the life that you love. It's your calling. It's what God has created you to do. So go out there, put it on the canvas, get started, get moving. You can do it. If God is for you, who could possibly be standing against you? Come on, let's go. We love you guys. See you soon.